Thank you for tuning into the podcast of Eden Church NJ, where we take care of Jersey because Jesus loves Jersey. Hit the follow button, share this episode with a friend, and I'll see you soon. Let's get into it.
You know what makes me think of miracles, believe it or not? The New York Football Giants. Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. Take it easy. Take it easy. The New York Football Giants. Think about it. I have seen, yeah, there we go. All right. We got a couple Giants fans. I'm saying, I know we got some Ravens fans or something like that. This is not your time, right? The New York Football Giants. Think about it. Look, in my lifetime alone, I've seen 3 Super Bowls, 2 wins versus the GOAT. Many would call him the GOAT. All right? And yeah, we got some size because you're right. Rakia, you, all right? Boston fans. I'm going to go on this side because there's some energy over there. Something going on over there. We've seen 2 Super Bowl wins versus the GOAT. Come on. And that doesn't make sense. Eli Manning scrambling around with his facial expressions. I've seen a lot of miracles through the New York Giants, okay? Who remembers the helmet catch? Right, okay, I remember the helmet catch. For those of you who know, there are some people who actually, I'm looking around, I'm like, there's some people who were born after the helmet catch actually happened. So let me catch you up. The helmet catch was this thing, 4th down, end of the Super Bowl, it's like 2 minutes left. Eli Manning scrambles back. He almost gets sacked like he always did, shakes out of it somehow, and just throws it downfield. And this guy named David Tyree, who's actually a church planter now, I don't know if you know, David Tyree catches this football on his helmet 40 yards down the field, gets slammed on his back, doesn't drop it somehow. And then the Giants would go on to win a Super Bowl they had no business winning. And it was unexplainable. It was one of these things that it was a phenomenon. Sports analysts talked about this catch for weeks. They analyzed it. They looked at all the video, like, how did it really hit the ground? And like, no, it's like this close from the grass. Like, oh my God, how did that happen? That makes no sense. Even still to this day, Boston fans are sighing in disbelief. Sighing in disbelief. Why? Because it made no sense. Even still to this day, actually, some Patriots fans believe that there was a conspiracy. There's a helmet catch, like conspiracy. Like there's no way that catch happened at that time, in that place, and that was the result in that game that they had no business winning. But you know who doesn't think miracle when they look at the New York Giants? My kids. Now, my kids, they're little. They haven't seen they don't think miracle, they think misery. You know, they look at what has happened over the last 9 years since my kids have been around, and they're like, man, I don't see it. So much so where my son has gone wayward. He actually roots for the Miami Dolphins now. I know. The ultimate father film. The ultimate. But why? It's because they are not believing for what they have not seen. And I know this has been true in my life way too frequently. In my life, and oh man, I'm embarrassed to say, even in my ministry, where I fail to believe in what I cannot explain and what I cannot see. And what is no longer true of me, that I hope is no longer true of you after the end of today, is that, man, I was heading toward just this overly safe and very explainable life that just pushes out power beyond me and makes it so that power beyond my own cannot operate in me or around me. A safe life is not a terrible life. But I think what we're going to see in Matthew chapter 8, where we are today, where Jesus is performing miracles, is that a life in relationship with God is a life full of the unexplainable. Most of you know we've been in this sermon series in the book of Matthew, or the gospel according to Matthew. And Matthew is explaining the story of Jesus, and he gets to chapter 8 where we are today, and he's explaining to you now Jesus' ministry. So for those of you who are new, we always just base everything out of this here book right here. So we are just preaching right out of the Bible. And so we're in Matthew 8. And as he turns to talk about Jesus' ministry, what he shows us is Jesus' ministry through the lens of some miraculous moments first. So first he heals this dude who had a skin disease, an uncurable skin disease. Jesus healed him. And then it turns here in verse 5 where this powerful man comes to Jesus. And this happens. It says, when Jesus entered Capernaum, verse 5, a centurion came to him pleading with him. Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed in terrible agony. So here's this very powerful man in his own right coming and pleading to Jesus, this Jewish carpenter. Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed in terrible agony. He said to him, Am I to come heal him? Lord, the centurion replied, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Can we pause right there? I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. You know, some of you in this room, you stop right in the middle of that verse and you don't finish it. Lord, I'm unworthy. But you see, if you stop there, you will always prove yourself true. If the centurion if the story stops here, this man never gets up out of his army camp. He never leaves base. He never leaves home base. And he never gets up and puts on his church clothes and comes to Jesus and blends in with the crowd and pleads with him for a power that is beyond his own. No, if he just stops here, he just stays here. And he proves himself true, having never encountered the miraculous, having never encountered the unexplainable. But can I encourage you to keep on going from that? Too many of us stop at, you know what? I don't get it. That doesn't make sense to me. Too many of us stop at, well, you don't know what I've done. You know what I mean? I really am not worthy to be in the presence of like Jesus and like the holy people. You know what I mean? I'm not worthy. Too many of us stop right there and we never get to the rest of the verse, which says, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. Just say the word. Hey, Jesus, I know I'm not worthy to be in your presence. I know I'm not worthy to welcome you into my home. But what I do know is that there is something about you. You have healed. I have seen you do things that do not make sense to me. I don't fully get it, but I know that I need it. There's something unexplainable about the power of God in Jesus Christ, and I don't necessarily always get it all, but I know that I need to get it all. And make no mistake, this man, the centurion, isn't approaching Jesus saying, I'm not worthy from the sense of like, hey, I'm just, a low down, dirty, good for nothing, filthy rags sinner. Even though we are all born with sin, we need Jesus to save us from. He's actually approaching him with this stance of like, yo, I really just don't get you. You don't fully make sense to me, but I've seen that you have a power that is beyond mine. I have seen that you heal, and here I am, I'm a powerful man, but I cannot heal my friend, and he's in agony, and I need something beyond me, and it seems like you have it. And that's why he clarifies in verse 9, he says, for I too am a man, Jesus, just like you. I too am a man under authority, having soldiers under my command. I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes. And to my servant, do this, and he does it. I tell him to jump. He says, how high? You know what I mean? Like what he's telling Jesus here, this is so good. What he's telling Jesus here, he's a centurion. Can I give you some context? A centurion, what is a century? It's 100. That would have meant that he was overseeing about 100 troops in the Roman army, the most powerful army in the world at the time. And so what he's saying is like, hey, I'm kind of like you, Jesus. Actually, I'm pretty powerful myself. I tell a soldier, jump, and he says, how high? I'm pretty powerful. And in fact, he's even insinuating to Jesus because Jesus is standing in Roman territory as this conversation is happening. So as this conversation is going down, he's standing in Roman territory, and the centurion is actually insinuating something a little iffy here. He's actually telling Jesus, you're standing in my territory. And I need something from you. And I'm the one who commands people to do the things. What he's saying is, I could technically command you, Jesus. I could technically, legally, and rightfully tell you that you need to help me. You must help me, and you must do what I say. But he realizes something very important here that I need you all to get. He realizes that he cannot manipulate the grace of God. He realizes in this moment that though I could command you, I don't command you. I believe you. I don't command the grace of God. I believe for the grace of God, for the mercy of God, for the power of God, and what it can do for me and mine. I could command you, but I don't command you, Jesus. I believe you. And I just need like 12 people under the sound of my voice who understand what it means to just like, to not believe that we can manipulate the grace of God with our attendance and with our Bible reading plans and with our daily verses and with our performance of things, because God is not coming after you for behavior modification. He is coming to give you a better basis for your life, not just better behavior in your life. God cannot be manipulated to do what you need him to do. You must believe. He comes to Jesus saying, I could command you. I don't command you though. I believe you. So the centurion, he's not approaching Jesus like the right way. He's coming to Jesus saying, I too am a man just like you. And he's not. Jesus says, yeah, I am a man who is God. You say you are a man. But he's saying, I too am a man just like you. He's not approaching Jesus with the right words and the right religious talk and the right terms. And he doesn't have the right Christology. He's not looking at Jesus and he understands Jesus's, place in the Trinity and along the arc of redemption and all of these things. No, he's coming to Jesus simply believing him, not fully understanding him. He's coming to Jesus saying, I don't command you. I believe you. And that is exactly why the power of Jesus comes to him, because he realizes that Jesus has a power that is beyond his understanding, that he cannot demand out of him. He must graciously decide to bestow his power on him. And that is the entirety of the Bible. For those of you who have never even read the Bible in here today, the Bible can be summed up in one sentence, all of these words. And it's simply this: you can't. But in Jesus, God does. You can't. You won't. You won't. But in Jesus, God does. God does. God does perplex you. Miracles might confound you. They might be unexplainable. Somebody say unexplainable. God might be unexplainable. He's not confusing, but he is perplexing. And you should believe that the power of God is capable of showing up in your life to perplex you. That's specifically why Jesus, when you skip down to verse 13, it says, then Jesus told the centurion, go, as you have believed, let it be done for you. And his servant was healed that very moment. An unexplainable miracle. Go, and as you have believed, not as you have calculated, not as you have scientifically deduced, not as you have figured out. No, go as you have believed. Let it be done for you. And I just want to, like, are you the type of person who expects power beyond your own to show up in your life? Is that you? Tomorrow morning when you go to work, are you expecting things beyond you to happen in your workplace, in your classroom, where you find yourself? I know it's Q4 for a lot of y'all in different industries, and that can mean a lot of different things. You know what I mean? In the news cycle, in the classroom, in the sales conference room, that can mean a lot of different things. And maybe Q3 was bad for you. Maybe Q3 ain't really go like, you know what I'm saying, the last 3 months it didn't really go like it should at work. And Q4, maybe historically in your industry, is supposed to be even worse, right? This is when you start getting the people talking about, you know what, the holidays are coming up, we're going to be real busy. Let's just table the conversation till January, you know what I mean? Let's table the project. I know you've been working all year on that project, but now we're busy and the deadline's coming up, but I think we should just kick it and just torment you for another 6 months with that project or those deals. You were hoping that insertion order gets signed in November, but the CEO, he's already planning his vacations, you know what I mean? It's like, let's table it. Let's talk about it in January. But are you showing up at work expecting God himself to show up and perplex you, to do in Q4 beyond what is supposed to happen in Q4? Y'all looking at me like, okay, pastor, you don't know what you're talking about. I know most of y'all might not know. I actually worked in the corporate world. I'm not speaking like pejoratively. I actually mean this. I've lived this. I've seen this. At a company where I actually worked in Midtown for several years that I won't name because I really loved working here, but this story might not paint it in the best light. But I remember working at this company where if you did meet your goals, you would often, in a quarter or in a month, you would often be given goals in the next quarter or the next month that you were most likely not going to hit. That would be your reward. And so I remember one time, Q3, I went 127% to plan, 127% to my goals. And I remember the very next day you show up and there's this big board and everybody can see like who's got what kind of goals that they need to reach. It's like, all right. So everybody would show up, you know what I mean, and look at the board and, everybody's typing away and slacking each other, secret messages like, yo, did you see so-and-so? Blah, 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 blah. And I happened to actually be, because I did so well the last quarter, on the very bottom. And I had this huge gap to accomplish all of my goals. And I remember just being like, I'm gonna pray and I'm gonna try. And I remember looking at my team and be like, you want to see hard work this quarter, you better watch me, right? And I didn't know whether I was just being arrogant, honestly, a little bit. But I remember just trying really hard and not getting there. And at the very end of this quarter, my wife and I already had a vacation planned. So like for the last week, we were supposed to be gone, not grinding, actually resting. And on the third day of vacation, at the end of this quarter, while I was resting, I went 100.01% to goal. While I was doing nothing. It wasn't because of my super hard work. God perplexed me. He did the unexplainable. And I'm just asking, like, are you expecting the unexplainable in your life as you go? Not just meaning that Jesus is a genie. You rub some lamp or some lantern and then some magical things happen that you just cannot explain. But rather, like, as you go about where you go on Monday to Friday, like, are you expecting the unexplainable to happen among you, or are you just settling for what you can do? Are you just settling for what you can understand in your home? I know you wrote off that family member. You know what I mean? I know they're toxic, or TikTok convinced you that they have narcissistic tendencies, or they're way too MAGA, or they're way too liberal. I know there's something in you that just, you've written them off. But can I tell you, are you expecting God to perplex you in your home? Are you expecting that God would perplex you in your home, in your family group? Expecting him to do the unexplainable among you. I'm sensing right now that there are some among us, though, that are like, okay, but like really like miracles, though, So like you are trying to say, I'm just supposed to be like the dumb centurion. It's 2025. We don't have to believe these types of things anymore, Brandon. I know Jesus, he shared some like encouraging words. He was a wise guy. I get it. But you're trying to tell me that a donkey spoke? You're trying to tell me that he just spoke some words and magically someone who was paralyzed is walking? You're trying to tell me that he just touched somebody and healed their skin disease? You really believe these kinds of things? Yes, but let me show you why. So first of all, what is a miracle really? A miracle, when you think about it, is really just, it can be defined as when the unexplainable happens through the typically explainable. When I'm typically able to explain something, but then something in that thing happens that is unexplainable. There's the natural world that we have, the things that we can see and touch and feel and know, and then there is the supernatural world. And do you realize it is a logical train of thought? I'm not going to go too deep on you, all right? But I'm trying to talk to the few skeptics in the room, of which I know there are several, that it is a logical thing to believe that there is a such thing as the miraculous, as the unexplainable. And I'll just put it to you this way, biblically, and I know there's a couple who are, this isn't going to satisfy for you. So we're after here, I'll be available. We can talk more deep on this. But I need to give you a little bit here in that, like, it is a logical and rational thing to think that there is a miracle, that miracles do exist. And why is that? So if the God of the Bible has come, right, we see Jesus here isn't just this God who's like high in the sky, some sky fairy who like made the earth and left and just looks down it like, oh, okay, are they cool? All right, cool. And then it's just detached from it. But rather we see in Jesus that God comes to the earth. He comes to you, meaning that the supernatural things come to the natural things. If that is true, and there is a God who is all-powerful, there is a God who is almighty, there is a God who has created everything, then it does make sense that he's able to do things within what he created that you cannot explain. He is able, I know you can calculate the distance of the sun and the temperature of the sun and the things that would happen if the sun stops like it did in Joshua. But if there is a God who created the sun, he is able to stop that sun in ways you do not get. He is able, he is capable of controlling and maneuvering in what you understand in ways you do not understand because he owns it all. And so in that way, it is a logical thing to think that the miracles of the Bible are true and real. It is a rational thought. It is not just a beheaded thought of just like, hey, believe. But I genuinely need you to know that the unexplainable is exactly it. So to answer the question, yes, you do need to believe like the centurion. Especially because of what Jesus said in verse 10. When he said this. He said, hearing this, Jesus was amazed and said to those following him, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with so great a faith. I tell you that many will come from east and west to share the banquet with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be thrown into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. He says it is the one who embraces the unexplainable, who is not only saved, but who experiences the full power of God. And it is precisely the one who thinks they already get it all that doesn't. It is precisely the one. It is precisely the one who already believes they understand all the things of God, who doesn't get it. The centurion, this is his first time at church. And there are many of you, today is your first day. Can I tell you, you might have walked in here thinking you're in a worse position. This verse proves that untrue. You are actually arguably in the best position to experience to encounter the true and full power of God. Jesus just doesn't say anything. Read verse 10 again. He says, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with so great a faith. A man, his first day at church, the greatest faith ever. The greatest faith in all of Israel. Among all of the people of God. This man who was new, but just simply believed in Jesus to do the unexplainable. This guy, the greatest faith among all of us. Jesus is showing us that when you reach the end of your explanations, you have found the beginning of the power of God. When you reach the end of what you are able to produce, you have found the beginning of the provision of God. And so my prayer for you this morning would be that your life would be so unexplainable that people wouldn't be able to look at it and just calculate how all of that was possible, but that they wouldn't be able to see you and stop themselves from saying, a living God must be near them. So may your life make no sense at all. May your life make no sense at all. May it make no sense. May the peace you have make no sense. When they talk about you, when they abandon you, when you're going through that trial, when the thing pops back up again, when you trip again, may your peace make no sense, that people would look at you in the middle of that storm and that they would wonder how? How is it possible? How is she standing? How is he strong? How is he smiling? And it doesn't look like a fake smile. In the midst of that storm, anybody would crumble. That it would make no sense. That the endurance that you have, the persistence that you have to keep on going through that depression, through that trial, through Q4, when those goals look crazy, how are they showing up and not exploding on customers? Would it make no sense? Because when your life stops being explainable, that's when it will actually become powerful.